Hey everybody, my name is Matt, and I'm an instructor here in the journalism department. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the CANON T7i. Now I will say this video is going to focus on the video features of this camera. But this camera is actually a photo camera as well. But just so you guys know, as we walk through, I'll be mostly focusing on how to shoot video with this camera. So let's start with the physical features. This camera is an interchangeable lens camera. So that means this front piece is not fixed. We can take it off. And the way that we do that is by pushing this side button right here. I'm going to push it in, and then I'm just going to twist the lens. And then now you can see we just have the camera body. So this opens up a lot of flexibility for the types of shots that you can get with this camera. Moving around to the side, we have our side grip here. It's very comfortable in the hand, and it kind of has this little rubberized piece right here as well. On the top, we have our shutter button. So again, if you're taking photos, you can use this to take pictures with. But for our video features today, we're going to be using a different button to record video. We have this little spin knob right here, which can be used to adjust various exposure settings in the camera. We have a few buttons up here for display and ISO. And then on the top here, we have this dial right here, and this gets us to all of our different modes. So when you pick this camera up and you want to shoot video, if you just turn it on, now you're in photo mode. But to get into video mode, they make it pretty obvious on here. You can see it's just it looks like a camera. So I'm just going to flip that up to the camera mode. And you're going to hear a little click. Let me do that again so you can hear it. So that click is basically flipping up the mirror so that there's nothing blocking the sensor. So we get a nice live view here in the screen of what the camera is seeing. As we move around to the back, we can see right here, this is going to be our record button right here. So this is going to be a very important button when we actually start to record video. Some more buttons here. The ones I really want to point out is this Q button. It stands for like quick menu, so that's a really good one to know. And then also these other buttons around this little keypad here. We also have our menu button and our info button over here. The menu button we'll use a lot to access things such as audio level and video format and all of that. One of the great features too about this camera is this very flexible LCD screen. So I can flip it out, but it also flips like that as well. So if I want to get a low angle shot, so if I'm above the camera, I can hold it down here, and then vice versa. If I'm doing a high angle shot, I can also tilt it down like this. I also like that it pops out too, so that you're not stuck kind of behind the camera like this. It's much more comfortable to flip it out and kind of look at things this way. This camera also has some great video out and audio in options. So I want you to notice these flaps over here. Again, they're on if you're looking at the camera, they're on this side of the camera. They're a little bit hidden, but that's partially because this is a little bit weatherproof. So you're gonna pull back these little flaps. You can see right here, there's this little spot to either put like a little coin or use your fingernail. So if you pull this one back, you see that we have a top port, and this is for a remote. This is not for a microphone. The one below it is for the microphone. And you'll see that when you plug in the microphone, it won't fit into the remote port, but you might look at this and see, well, okay, it must be right there, you know. I get it, you know, it's easy when you're in a rush, but just note that the bottom port is for the microphone. Now, when you check out this camera and you check out a microphone, you need to make sure that you get a microphone with a 3.5 millimeter adapter or a 3.5 millimeter connection on it. And the equipment room has plenty of adapters and plenty of microphones that have that type of connection. You might have heard of an XLR cable. This camera cannot take an XLR microphone. So just please note that when you're checking this out. So this is our microphone, where our microphone port is located. And then also, if I pull back this flap, you can see I have a USB port, and then I also have a mini HDMI port as well. So if you wanted to hook this up to a monitor or a TV to get a bigger view of what you're filming, you can do that right here. Along this dial here, again, we can switch to these other modes. Today I just want to touch on the manual mode. So you can see when I switch to the M, that means manual. And now if I look at my screen, you see a couple more options down here on the bottom. What's great is these are all accessible still by touch. So if I need to adjust my shutter speed, I can just click that and adjust it accordingly, just with this, this bar right here. And then I just hit the back button to get back. Here's my aperture. Again, I can close down my aperture, hit the back button, and then right now my ISO is on auto, but as soon as I start to drag this, you can see that we can change it that way as well. So again, if you like to film in manual mode, switch to M on the top dial, and then you get this great touch interface to adjust shutter, aperture, and ISO. So again, a lot of great features, a very capable camera. I hope you guys get a lot of great use out of this. Now we're going to dive into the menu and show you how to record some great video. Okay, let's dive into filming some great video with this camera. So you can see I'm in the video mode right here. I'm not in on or off. I'm in the video mode, so all the way up. And then right now I put it into this P for portrait mode for the video. We'll talk about the TV and AV and M in a little bit, but I like to be in this portion of the dial. This green A right here, this will put you in full auto, but I like to have a little bit more control over the camera than that. So I suggest let's start in the portrait mode when we're filming video. Okay, so we're gonna look at the screen here. This camera is set to go to sleep pretty quickly, so all you have to do to wake it up is just push this shutter button and it'll wake right back up. And so now you can see as I pan around, we're seeing video, right? And to me that looks pretty good. And what the camera is doing is it's based on the light that's coming into the camera, it's automatically adjusting ISO and shutter speed and aperture to get a nicely exposed image. So let's see, if I were to point the camera up at these lights, you can see that the camera is dimming down. So if I go up where it's darker, you can see how the camera gets brighter. And then if I come back down to the lights, you can see that it's closing down our aperture, so we're getting a better exposure. Like this camera does have a pretty good auto mode, and so you can kind of just whatever your lighting situation is changing to, you can trust it. But like I said, we'll talk about these other modes here in a little bit. So let's go through some of these things that we see here on screen. So the first one I want to point out is this Q. You can see we have this Q right here, and we have this Q right here. That stands for quick menu. So kind of depends if you like the physical button or the touch screen. I'm going to do the touch screen version. So I'm going to hit this Q mode, and you can see we have access to all kinds of features that we can change very quickly. So for instance, this top one here is autofocus. So right now this is on autofocus, and you can see that little face on there. That means it's looking for a face, and it's going to autofocus on somebody's face. Probably a good thing to leave on. The thing I want to point out next is this function right here. So this is our basically format that we're going to record these videos in. So we have everything from full HD. That's what the FHD stands for. So we have full HD up to 60 frames per second. So that allows you some flexibility with slow motion in post-production. And then we have everything down to this VGA quality. So I would suggest filming in the full HD. Again, if you want the slow-mo, shoot at 60p, but I'd say either shoot in full HD at 30 at 29.97 or full HD at 23.98. Again, filming at 23.98 kind of gives you that cinematic look. We're shooting more at a 24 frames per second, which is what film is shot in. So if you want that little bit different look, you can shoot there. But again, what I like about this too is it gives you this little clue right here. So it tells you 1920 by 1080, 59.94. 1920 by 1080, 29.97. So it gives you visual feedback of what you're actually filming in, which is great. Now, sometimes it might happen where you're recording and then it says that the movie has stopped recording. You don't really know why. That's most likely because your SD card isn't fast enough for it to write in full HD. So a way to get around that is just to hit the Q button, and we can go over here to Full HD Light. So we're still 1920 by 1080, 29.97. You can see it says light. And then it even tells us Full HD recording for, just go back to it, with smaller file size. So basically the bit rate of the file isn't going to be as high. So that should work with more SD cards. But for now, we're going to be in Full HD 23.98. That's how I like to film. So again, that's just right here on this quick menu. So if we go back into our quick menu, or our queue, I'm going to go over here to white balance. So again, this camera does pretty good at sensing the light coming in and detecting the white balance just automatically. But I would suggest setting your white balance, especially in an interview situation. So I'm going to go to our quick menu. I'm going to hit this one right here. So you can see we have all of these different presets down here. So pick whichever one matches most your environment. So right here, we're under a lot of tungsten light. And so I might pick this tungsten light preset. If you're outside and it's cloudy, pick that one. Daylight, same thing. For now, I am just going to switch it back to auto just for our purposes today. Okay, now let's talk about autofocus with this camera. Autofocus in these modern cameras has made huge strides. They can track faces, they can track objects, they can even track animals on some cameras. But you're smarter than the camera, right? So sometimes you really want to take control of autofocus and override it. So I'm going to give you some quick tips on how to do that. So you can see right now we are focused on this lens cap, and you can see it's in focus. As if I tilt up and focus on something farther away, you can see it goes right back and focuses on that. If I come back to the lens cap, it focuses right back on the lens cap. So this is really smooth. It's really really responsive. Okay. So when you're doing an interview, yes, this has face tracking, so you have an advantage there. But there are sometimes other objects in your scene that can look like a face to the artificial intelligence built into this camera. So what I like to do in an interview is set up my shot, make sure I'm focused on the subject's eyes, and then put it into manual focus. So that way the camera isn't searching for autofocus during the interview. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that. So again, like before, we were focused on this lens cap, and then we went up to the background, right? So now I'm going to go back to the lens cap, and let's pretend we want the lens cap to stay in focus. I'm going to push the Servo AF button, and you can see now it says Movie Servo AF paused, and now if I tilt up, the background stays blurry. It has stopped using the autofocus. So now I know that when I go back to this lens cap, my lens cap is still going to be in focus. The focus of the lens hasn't changed. And that's just a quick little button push right there. And then now it's resumed. You can see that green light is back on. And now when I tilt back up, it's focusing farther away again. Okay, so that's a cool one. Another really great feature about this camera is it has focus tracking. So say you're trying to line up a shot, and you can see right now, it's trying to focus on the background, but I want it to focus on that lens. So I'm going to tap the lens on the screen, and you can see it slowly did like a little rack focus to the lens. And now what's cool too is as I move the camera, you can see that it is tracking that lens. So if I did a cool shot where I started here and kind of came around, it's going to stay focus tracked right on that lens cap. So again, if I start here and kind of come around like this, you can see it's locked in on that lens cap. And now let's say we want to focus on the background. I'm going to just tap on the background, and it just did a smooth rack focus to the background. So say I want to focus on that orange extension cord back there. See, again, you can see that it's tracking right there, right? And then now if I do a little tilt back down to the lens cap and tap the lens cap, it's going to smoothly focus there as well. So this is so powerful because you can have something set up on a table and you can move around it, get some really dynamic shots, and it's going to stay locked in on it. Another great shot you can do is do a rack focus. So we've kind of done that a couple times here, but let me just show that again. So we're going to be, I'm touched right here on the lens cap, and then if I just touch back there, it's just going to do a smooth rack focus between the two subjects. So again, you can pull off some pretty high-end shots with the power of the autofocus built into this camera. Okay, now we're gonna run through the audio recording features on this camera. Again, you'll remember this camera has a 3.5mm audio jack on the side of it, so just for another reminder, just be sure to get the right type of microphone that fits into that connection. So again, this does have auto leveling built into it. So no matter what level the audio is coming in at, it's gonna adjust to that level. But sometimes it doesn't react fast enough. There's a really loud noise and you might get some peaking. Also, it does tend to record audio at the very upper end of the audio level. And so if you want to give it a little bit more room so that you can boost it more in post-production, we can do that as well. So again, we're back in our menu system here. This time I'm going to hit menu. I'm going to hit the menu button on the back. And then this is a great menu. It's very simple, and it also offers great explanations for what's happening within each menu. So shooting settings, configure movie recording size, sound recording, and other movie settings. Pretty self-explanatory that the sound recording options are going to be inside this menu. So you can either tap OK or hit the set button right here. So right in the first page here, we see our movie recording size, which again, we accessed from that Q menu, so we didn't have to dive into this menu. So just another way to access that. So if I just go down here to sound recording, again, right now it's on auto. And you can see I'm talking, and you can see we got a little bit of peaking right there, actually. So this is what I mean. When it's in the auto mode, it's going to try and keep everything pretty loud, which again is okay for some scratch audio, but if we really want some quality audio, let's get some more control over it. So I'm going to just hit set in the middle there. I'm going to go down to manual. And so now you can see our recording level is now available for us to change. So I'm going to hit set. I'm going to go down to recording level. I'm going to hit set. And then now I'm just going to do left and right. So you can see as that little triangle moves farther down, I'm still talking at the same level, but look how low the audio meters are. That's barely getting any sound. So of course that's going to be too low, but for this example I just wanted you to see that. And then on the reverse end of that, if I go way up, check, check, 1, 2. Again, I'm talking at the same level, and you can see now I'm peaking. I can tell that I'm peaking because those little red ends of the audio meters are lit up. That's bad, because once that audio peaks, you cannot get it back. So don't peak audio. So if I had a microphone plugged into this and I would have my interview subject, okay, can you tell me what you had for breakfast? Or tell me something about yourself. Have them talk, have them get you a good sound level, and then just adjust accordingly. So for me at my level, I'm going to try and get myself peaking around 12 right there. And so this is my kind of presentation volume of voice. When I do an interview, I'd probably be talking quieter. But you can see right now, this feels like a good level for me talking at this volume level. So I'm going to hit set. Be sure to hit set so that it actually sticks. And you can see, again, I'm still talking at the same level, and we're getting that peak at around 12 there. And then now I'm just going to hit our menu button again until we're back at our screen. And that's how you adjust audio recording level on the T7i.